My wife lied to her friends that I was abusive, then threatened to ruin me if I divorced her. I thought I knew my wife, until she joined a new friend group and started lying to fit in point one of those lies. The knock at the door. I'm writing this from my car, parked in my brother's driveway, because I'm not ready to go inside yet. My fingers keep tightening on the steering wheel, my breathing uneven. The events of tonight keep replaying in my head like a bad movie I can't shut off. It was late, close to midnight, when it happened. I dozed off on the couch, the TV droning quietly in the background. Outside, the neighborhood was dead silent. No cars, no footsteps. Just that heavy, peaceful quiet you get on a cold night. Then bang, bang, bang. The front door shook with the force of the knocking. Before I could even get up, flashes of blinding white light cut across the living room. My half-asleep brain scrambled to process it. Were we being robbed? Was there a fire? When I opened the door, the icy night air hit me like a wall. 2 police officers stood there, their flashlights in my eyes. My heart was already hammering. "Sir, we need you to step outside." I was barefoot, still in pajama pants and an old t-shirt. My mind raced. Why? What's going on? Then I glanced over my shoulder and saw my wife standing in the hallway. Her arms were crossed, her gaze glued to the floor. She looked nervous, almost guilty. The officers split us up immediately. One pulled me toward the driveway, the other stayed inside to talk to her. "Where's your wife right now?" the officer asked. "Inside, why? What's happening?" I replied, my voice trembling. That's when he said it. The sentence that made my stomach plummet. "We received a call saying you've been abusing your wife." For a second, it didn't even register. Abuse? I blinked at him, my mouth dry, trying to comprehend what I'd just heard. I've been married to her for 6 years. Have we argued? Sure. Every couple does. But violence? Never. I would never hurt her. I told him as much, my words tumbling out faster than I could think. There's been a mistake. I would never lay a hand on her. He watched me closely, like he was reading my every micro-expression. I could hear my wife's muffled voice inside, talking to the other officer. I caught fragments. Fine, misunderstanding, just a mix-up. After what felt like an eternity, the officers wrapped up. No arrests, no charges, just a warning. If another call came in, they'd be back. When the cruiser pulled away, I stood there in the cold, feeling like the ground beneath me had shifted. I couldn't shake the thought. Who made that call? And why? My wife wouldn't meet my eyes. What I didn't know yet was that this wasn't some random prank call. It came from one of her new friends, and it was based entirely on lies she'd been feeding them. The friends who needed drama. A few months ago, my wife, 32, joined a local women's social club. At first, I thought it was a great thing for her. She'd always been introverted, keeping her social circle small. I figured this would give her a chance to branch out, meet new people, maybe even pick up new hobbies. I remember the first time I met them. It was at a casual backyard barbecue one of the members was hosting. My wife had insisted I stop by just for an hour to say hello. They seemed friendly enough on the surface, smiling, offering me a drink, asking basic questions. But it didn't take long for me to notice the undercurrent. Within minutes, their small talk shifted into whispered conversations about who in their circle was fighting, who had finally left that jerk of a boyfriend, who was supposedly pregnant by someone else's husband. It wasn't just chatting, it was like they fed off this stuff. You could feel the energy spike whenever someone brought up something messy. Later, my wife told me one of the women in the group had left an abusive marriage. Whenever she talked about it, the others would rally around her, showering her with sympathy and attention. My wife's eyes lit up when she described it, not because she was happy for the woman's escape, but because she seemed fascinated by the way everyone leaned in when the drama started. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just teased her about joining the cool new friends club and left it at that. But little by little, I noticed changes in her. She started going out with them almost every weekend. Her phone was never out of reach. She was constantly texting in their group chat, even during dinner. She began mirroring their mannerisms, their slang, even their tone, their stories. And more friends did take it seriously. The one who had survived real abuse. That friend decided to act, to protect her, by calling the police. My wife claimed she was on the verge of confessing to them when the knock came at the door. She even seemed to think she deserved credit for telling the officers it was all a misunderstanding. I could barely look at her. "You lied about me hitting you, and now you want points for not getting me arrested?" I told her I needed space and left for my brothers. But inside, something had shifted. I wasn't just hurt. I was starting to realize I might never be able to come back from this. And as I was about to find out, this was only the beginning. Because once I mentioned divorce, she showed me just how dangerous she could really be. "I'll ruin you." A couple of days passed. I stayed at my brother's place, ignoring most of her texts and voicemails. The few I opened swung wildly between desperate pleas for forgiveness and angry tirades about me abandoning her. In that time, I spoke to a divorce attorney. I didn't tell her right away. I wanted to be sure before I made it official. But once I decided, I knew I had to say it to her face. That afternoon, I drove over to the house while she was home. I walked in, grabbed a box from the closet, and started packing my things. She hovered in the doorway, her eyes following me. "What are you doing?" I didn't stop packing. "This marriage is over. You'll be getting divorce papers soon." For a moment, she just stood there, silent. Then her face twisted. The teary, apologetic woman from earlier was gone. "So that's it? You're just giving up? After everything I've done for you?" I almost laughed at the absurdity. "Everything you've done for me? You mean lying about me hitting you?" That's when she snapped. Her voice dropped low, and her eyes locked onto mine with a kind of cold fury I hadn't seen before. "If you go through with this divorce, I'll tell everyone you really did abuse me. I'll say it in court, to the judge, to your family, everyone. You'll be ruined." The air in the room seemed to go still. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other. And in that moment, I understood this wasn't just about a lie to her friends anymore. This was about control. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just said, "We're done," and walked out while she was still shouting threats at my back. On the drive back to my brother's, I called my attorney and told them exactly what she'd said. They told me to document everything from here on out. Texts, voicemails, any proof of threats. It was clear now. This divorce wasn't going to be a quiet, civil split. It was going to be a war. And the first shot she fired? A restraining order request filled with nothing but lies. The paper that changed everything. She wasn't bluffing. The very next day, a sheriff's deputy knocked on my brother's door. In his hand was a thick envelope. Inside, a temporary restraining order. My wife had gone to court and claimed I'd been physically abusing her for years. I sat there reading her sworn statement in disbelief. She said I hit her, shoved her into walls, threatened to kill her. She even listed specific dates for incidents that never happened. One of them was almost laughable. She claimed I'd assaulted her last month. I was 300 miles away on a work trip that entire week. I had hotel receipts, GPS data, and emails to prove it. Still, the court granted her the temporary order. Just like that, I was legally barred from my own home, forbidden from contacting her directly. All it took was her word and a supporting statement from one of her friends. No physical evidence. No witnesses to any abuse. I felt sick, angry, and more than anything, determined. I called my attorney, and we switched into battle mode. We combed through everything: old texts, emails, location data, travel itineraries, bank receipts. Anything that could dismantle her timeline. The most important find? Texts she sent me after the police visit. In them, she clearly admitted she'd exaggerated and that it was all a misunderstanding. My lawyer called it a smoking gun. We built a binder, hundreds of pages thick, full of evidence. I even had GPS data showing I wasn't in the same city during several alleged incidents. If she wanted a fight, she was going to get one, but on my terms. The court date for the hearing was set, and I was ready to finally expose every single lie she'd told. The day the lies collapsed. The 2 weeks leading up to the hearing felt like a lifetime. Every night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, running through worst-case scenarios. What if the judge believed her? What if this stayed on my record forever? When the morning finally came, I walked into the courthouse with my attorney on one side and my brother on the other. In my hand, I carried the binder we'd spent days assembling. Every piece of evidence, every screenshot, every receipt. She was already there, sitting with her lawyer and 2 of her friends. When our eyes met, She quickly looked away. The judge called the case. She went first. I sat and listened as she told the same fabricated stories from her sworn statement. How I slammed her into a wall, how I threatened her life. She even managed to squeeze out tears at all the right moments, her voice trembling on cue. I kept my face neutral, but inside, my blood was boiling. Then it was our turn. My attorney started with the texts, printed, dated, and highlighted, where she admitted she'd exaggerated and called the whole thing a misunderstanding. You could see the color drain from her face. Her lawyer objected, claiming they were out of context, but the damage was done. Next came the travel records. For one of her supposed abuse dates, we showed proof that I was out of state for work, hotel receipts, time-stamped emails, even GPS data. The judge flipped through the pages, his brow furrowing deeper with each one. And then came the kicker. One of her own friends, who had written a statement supporting her, admitted under cross-examination that she had never witnessed any abuse. She had simply trusted what she was told. When it was over, the judge didn't hesitate. He dismissed the restraining order request in full, stating on the record that her claims lacked credibility and even suggesting they appeared malicious. It felt like someone had just cut 100-pound weight from my chest. I could breathe again. But even with that victory, the war wasn't over. The divorce still loomed, and she wasn't about to walk away quietly. Walking away for good. When the judge's gavel came down, I felt the tension drain from my body for the first time in weeks. The restraining order was gone. The lies were officially on record as unbelievable. And for the first time since that knock at my door, I felt like I had a fighting chance. She didn't look at me as we left the courtroom. She gathered her things quickly, whispering to her friends, and walked out without a word. I knew she'd spin some new version of events for them, but that no longer mattered to me. My attorney was smiling, something I hadn't seen in days. "This changes everything for the divorce," he said. With her credibility shredded in front of a judge, she'd have a much harder time pulling stunts like this again. I decided right there, I was done with any direct contact. From now on, every word between us would go through the lawyers. I wasn't going to give her another chance to twist my words or set me up. Back at my brother's place, I packed the last of my things from the house in my mind. I didn't want to live there ever again. Too many shadows, too many echoes of shouting and slammed doors. I'd start over somewhere new. The fallout was still messy. Friends who'd heard her stories were hesitant around me. Some family members believed her at first, but slowly, with the truth coming out in court, the tide began to turn. My parents stood by me, my brother never once doubted me, and a few close friends told me they believed me from day one. I know I'll be dealing with the emotional wreckage for a long time. You don't just walk away from a marriage like this without scars. But I also know she failed. She tried to destroy me with lies, and she lost. Now, my focus is simple. Finish the divorce, clear the last legal hurdles, and put this nightmare in the rearview mirror. No revenge, no lingering obsession, just freedom. Because after everything she's done, the best thing I can do for myself is walk away and never look back.